So we are at 11:55. We still have some timed items. We are going to postpone those until this afternoon. We have a hard line 1 o'clock for a closed session for item 8.1, I believe. Yes. And so I'd like to utilize the next 5 minutes to let's go ahead and maybe do our calendars, and then we'll take a lunch. Reconvene at 1 p.m. to do our 8.1 closed session. And I would suggest that we reconvene our open session at 4 p.m. to make sure we have enough time to at least go through our interview process, our post-conversation after the interviews. And if we still have time, we will continue our closed session items because there are other items as well. And so let's go ahead and do calendars. We'll start with Supervisor Simon.
Okay, I'm going to keep it short and sweet here. During our hiatus of meetings, attended North Coast EMS. We had a meeting on that, our quarterly meeting. Also attended our insurance committee meeting also. We'll have some updates in the future about insurance and how we're moving forward. But I did just want to say that I know while our employees were inundated throughout, throughout the pandemic with emails about different things, if you have any questions about insurance opportunities, both telehealth, other things, please reach out to Human Resource, and I know they will give some information. So please just pay attention to those, insurance emails as they come from our human resources, because there may be opportunities that could benefit you, while you're using those. With that, have tomorrow, LTA was canceled for tomorrow.
Yep.
So tomorrow afternoon, have a CDD committee meeting on Wednesday, on Thursday. Yeah, flying right into it. We're already done here. So I have a conflict on Thursday. I have both the mental health board meeting and have the disaster council meeting. So I'm going to be attending the disaster council meeting on Thursday at 3. So we'll be having that, our quarterly meeting. And then don't have anything on the 16th, 17th, 18th. We'll be doing some short traveling in California here. And then back on Monday, we have the Risk Reduction Authority, which I'm so excited to say this will be our first meeting that we have NCO in as our consultant and coordinator. So, the next couple meetings, we're going to be moving forward. I want to thank the CAO. I want to thank NCO for stepping up, but I really want to thank Carol and her office and all the participants that have helped carry the RRA to get to this point. But we're excited about the opportunities down the road. We have already looked at some grant opportunities to expand the capacity, and it's taken a few years, 3 years exact, but I think we're taking the right steps, and it's going to be exciting moving forward. And then Tuesday back here for the meeting. And there may be other meetings that pop up, but they're not on there now.
And there always will be. Thank you very much. Let's go on to Supervisor Crandall.
So I'll go back to a couple meetings that took place. First and foremost, our East Region Town Hall on the 7th took place. We had a really big turnout. I'd say at least 25 to 30 people there, where Melinda Rivera from PG&E gave a presentation about the PSPS situation and discussion. Also, Lieutenant Pollock was there to discuss some of the situations with the deputies and the sheriff activity and whatnot. And so that was very good to see in person people attending, and we had at least 4 people on a Zoom. Also attended the CSA where Andrew Williams from Code Enforcement was present to discuss some things, and there's a lot of frustration out there with the illegal grows and whatnot, and I know that's a common area of discussion. Middle Creek Restoration took place Monday, where we are working to line up some of our tasks to ensure that when we ask, or in hopes of getting an extension, we are going to try and line up all of the other agencies like PG&E and Caltrans and whatnot to have those ready, and that way we don't miss any steps when it comes to moving forward with that project, the Middle Creek Restoration. So it was a very productive meeting, and we're hoping to meet with a couple of agencies like PG&E and another tribe that's wanting to talk with us about some of the acquisition or even zoning situation. I also met with had discussion with some folks from the Nice Neighborhood Watch who discussed some things about flock safety and cameras in the district, in looking at adding to the repertoire that the Sheriff's Department has. Let's see, I have today agenda review, and then tomorrow I have an appointment I have to be at for the VA, but I will be available by phone. I'm checking in with, I guess, our meeting with the director Thursday with a director from Special Districts. Cal Water is having I think it is a workshop, a rate workshop, that I'll be present with them discussing that, as there's they're a group that does our Lucerne water, so they're very active, and we're appreciating that. They'll also be at the LAF meeting on Friday to give out some other insights and some presentations on what to do with the situation in water and whatnot. Monday I have a meeting with the CAO back here Tuesday for the Board of Supervisors meeting.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Scott?
For my reports, yesterday there was a media release, public notice sent out for the Scotts Valley Water Conservation District. We're looking for 3 new directors. So if you live in the Scotts Valley area and interested in filling out a form for candidacy, you can go up to the Register of Voters and find out which district you would fall under. It's all under your address in the Scotts Valley. Or you can give me a call at 849-4414, and we will also be talking more about this at the Scotts Valley Community Meeting that will be held on July 26th. So again, give me a call, 849-4414, and we can help you get the paperwork or find information on how to go about that. My calendar is really light this next week. It looks like I have a meeting tomorrow at 8:15 with Carol, and then it's pretty much open from there, and then just Monday preparing for Tuesday's meeting.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Pyska?
So last week, better? Okay. We had quite a few meetings last week. We had the Ag Committee met. We had a special guest of Supervisor Spatier to discuss his request for that committee. Now we're going into the heavy season for our Ag Committee, so our next meeting won't be until November. One of the things that we talked about was how we could get their input on improving our application process. As our CDD is in a transition, I'm going to work to get them the process as it stands now, so that we can have them review it and get back to us throughout the fall. But this is really getting into their busy season, and we really want to just let them do their thing right now. I went out on the lake with Water Resources Department last week, and the coolest day of the week. I don't know if it reached 100, but it was great. I got to participate in the sampling of both water and sediment, so it's really a great experience for me. We have such an amazing team in place to do that work. The Fire Safe Council met. As the Fire Safe Council stands right now, it is an ad hoc committee of the Board of Supervisors. So the work that we're doing right now is trying to get it to develop into a 501(c) so it can stand on its own, accept funding, really pioneer projects. The State Fire Safe Council has a grant available, $175,000 for 30 counties in the state, giving preference to counties that have endured fires, have vulnerable populations. We feel really confident that we're going to get that grant. Check. We have, the Risk Reduction Authority has staff now with NCO and Tammy Alexey, who attended the webinar for the grant. And this is just days before the contract was signed. She was already doing it. So each county can apply one time. NCO can apply on behalf of our county. So we are this person that we have contracted with has already potentially made us $175,000 to develop and staff our Fire Safe Council, which is phenomenal news. So we're really excited. Supervisor Simon mentioned that we have opportunities, we have momentum. Things are just really cooking right now. So it's really exciting. The Fire Safe Council has a subcommittee working on how to really develop that 501(c) to stand on their own and function in the way that they want themselves to, and we need them to. So it's great. We had the roadmap task force, but I'll let Supervisor Sabatier report on that. I had to leave a couple of minutes early. And I went to the Buckingham Homeowners Association annual meeting Saturday morning and met with those constituents and shared a lot about what we've been doing here. It was just a really great meeting. Their water company is doing some really innovative work to have a platform float to draw water when their intake pipes will be impacted due to the low lake levels. So they're doing a lot of work, and they were really excited to hear everything that we're doing here. So tomorrow morning, there's a medical advisory committee. I'm meeting with MIT Matters. This is a conversation about housing recovery, wildfire prevention, and land use planning in Lake County from 2015 to the present. So that's an interview that I've got at 1 o'clock. We're going to be having our community development committee meeting later in the afternoon. There's a CARES ARPA ad hoc committee meeting on Thursday, followed by Disaster Council. The Cabaret Council will be meeting that evening for the first time in person, but outdoors. This is a big deal. It's a 5-year anniversary, so it'll be a little bit celebratory in nature. Friday, I will be going out to Canocti to visit with the manager, Russ Hamill. Saturday is the 10th anniversary of the Elay stage celebration. If anybody's interested in going to that, it's going to be a really fun day. I think it starts at 10 and goes till 3. I will not be there because I'm picking my children up from camp. And then my Monday meeting with our CAO, and that's it for me.
Thank you very much. I will be brief so we can get to our lunch break. At one point in time, not sure if it'll be later today or tomorrow, we will be doing agenda review for next week's meeting. Be meeting with our CAO later today as well about some other discussions that I wish to have. LTA, as it was discussed, has been canceled tomorrow, but that is being replaced with an EMS discussion that we will have on Thursday. Let's see, I'm going to try to join the Blue Zone meeting. I haven't been able to join that lately, as it always conflicts with some of my other meetings. I'll be meeting with special districts later on that day as well with Supervisor Crandall, I believe. Is that correct?
Oh, that Thursday? Yes.
Yeah. And then we will be looking at the American Rescue Plan Ad Hoc Committee to discuss where those funds will be going. And I know earlier somebody said we were getting $12 million. We are in total, but it's split in half. So we get the first part is 6 point something, and next year we'll get another 6 points. I think it's 12.3 million or something like that total. I forget what the specific amount. Later on, I have an update from CSAC with COVID-19 and how it's going throughout the state. And then Clear Lake City Council meeting, I'll be attending that, and then preparing for our meeting on Monday and meeting with our CAO. So that we can be all ready for our Tuesday meeting. Did have the roadmap task force. Our main topic of discussion was to look at which community to focus our efforts on. Again, the roadmap task force is about cleaning up a community and looking at permanent changes. So that includes discussions with law enforcement, discussion with code enforcement, animal control, and we will be bringing in our district attorney in our next upcoming meetings, depending on their schedule, as that is absolutely a part of keeping people accountable for the issues that we're trying to clean up as well. We are looking at Clear Lake Oaks, though I will say that's not official quite yet, because Clear Lake Oaks, especially if we look at it as a zip code, is a much larger area than just Clear Lake Oaks, so we haven't outlined the specific area that we will be calling the community focus for this roadmap task force, but we'll come back with more information as we keep going. And I'll stop there. It is 12:10. We will go ahead and take a 15-minute lunch and come back at 1 p.m. I don't believe I got it.
5-0.
50, no, 15 would be a break and not a lunch break. But thank you for asking for clarification on that. I didn't get a response in the Zoom room, but I'm guessing we will all be in our offices to do Zoom interviews with Pt2 for our closed session. And now I will just read all of the closed session agenda, just in case that we are able to do all of that. And we will reconvene the public session at 4 p.m. So please be back on to Zoom or in the chamber if you wish to continue to hear our discussions. 8.1, public employee appointment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B. A, interviews for public health officer. B, appointment of public health officer. 8.2, public employee evaluation. Title, interim community development director. 8.3, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, Fleisch versus County of Lake et al. 8.4, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, City of Clear Lake versus County of Lake et al. And with that, we will go ahead and go into our lunch session and reconvene our public session at 4 p.m. We will be in closed session at 1.
Mr. Chair, I just want to make sure everyone did get the Zoom invite for the 1 p.m. If anyone didn't get it, please let me know. Thank you.
We will. Thank you very much.
And I'm going to head home for the rest of the meeting.
All right. We are back. Thank you for being patient. It is 4:09. We said we would be back at 4 p.m. We are going to continue where we left off on our agenda, which was item 6.6, which sounds horrible to say. It was our 10:10 a.m. item. Presentation of Big Valley Groundwater Basin Sustainability Groundwater Management Act, SGMA, and implementation. And I will pass this over to our water resource team.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you to the Board of Supervisors. My name is Marina Delajanis, and I serve as the Deputy Water Resources Director, the Lake County Watershed Protection District. And I also serve as the lead for our Big Valley Groundwater Basin Sustainability Plan Advisory Committee. So I do have a presentation. I am here to present an update on our Big Valley SGMA implementation, which is our Sustainable Groundwater Management Act for our Big Valley Groundwater Basin. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you all. Can everyone see that okay?
Not at this moment. And I don't see a loading screen either.
One moment, bear with me. Excuse me.
There we go. It's popping up. There it is.
All righty. Okay. All right. Thank you all again. So just a little bit of what I'm going to be covering over today. This is, we are going to do just an overview of the work that we've completed to date in terms of SGMA. We are also going to talk about our Big Valley GSPAC. I'm going to introduce to you our consultants who are helping with our Big Valley GSP development. I will be highlighting our Big Valley Basin public meetings and then the contact information for our district and anything that any folks want to reach out to regarding our Big Valley Groundwater Basin SGMA. I will have my contact information at the very end for folks to reach out to us, and we'll also have time at the end for Q&A. So before I dive too deeply into the presentation, I would just like to go over a few of the acronyms that I will be highlighting today. So DWR stands for the California Department of Water Resources. GSA is our Groundwater Sustainability Agency. As a reminder, our Board of Directors of the Lake County Watershed Protection District serve as our Big Valley GSA. GSP stands for Groundwater Sustainability Plan, which again, that is due to the state by January 31st of 2022. GSPAC is our Groundwater Sustainability Plan Advisory Committee. FSS is our Facilitation Support Services, and SGMA is the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act of 2014. All right, so our Big Valley Groundwater Basin. As a refresher, we have one medium priority basin under SGMA. So in In 2019, our district was awarded facilitation support services from DWR. Now, FSS is a contract between the state and an outside consulting firm to aid in our Big Valley GSP stakeholder engagement and outreach. In January of this past year, we released our request for proposals to outside consultants for our groundwater sustainability plan development. After our RFP process, we awarded our consultants on March 23rd of 2021. Also in June of 2021, our GSP charter document, so in the meantime, we've held 6 Big Valley GSA and GSPAC public meetings. In April of 2021, our Big Valley GSA approved and adopted the GSA charter document, and then this charter document was also amended in June of 2021. And then we actually, at the first of this month, we requested an amendment for the same facilitation support services from DWR, and that is in the process of getting approved by the California Department of Water Resources. So some other key dates that I would like to highlight that are not on this current timeline is we are working with with DWR through applying for TSS services, which is technical support services. That's very similar to our FSS services that we have. So again, that is a contract that the state will have with an outside consulting firm, and that work is to do groundwater monitoring in our groundwater basin. And then it is our anticipation that we will be applying for our Proposition 68 Sustainable Groundwater Management Implementation Grant in 2021-2022. And again, that will be piggybacked off of the grant that we applied for and awarded in 2019, which was our planning grant, that's how we were able to develop and implement our Big Valley Groundwater Basin Sustainability Plan. All right, so our GSPAC. So Sigma requires GSAs to incorporate all beneficial uses and users in the entire GSP development process. And this is outlined in Water Code 10723.2, which requires GSAs to consider the interests of all beneficial uses and users of groundwater, as well as those responsible for implementing GSPs. Now, Sigma also outlines the local entity, so us here at the district are the ones tasked with developing and implementing this GSP. And again, we work closely with folks at the state level and then also our basin, the community members in our basin to develop this GSP. But it's us here at the district tasked with developing this GSP and implementing it, since the district is tasked with ensuring the protection of all waters, including surface waters and groundwaters of the county. So there are FSS services that we were awarded through DWR. We have been working very closely with Stantec Consulting Services, conducting discussions with Big Valley Basin stakeholders for the development of our stakeholder engagement and outreach plan. And these discussions have been going over for a little over a year now. And the goal of these discussions is to leverage knowledge and ensure effective and active stakeholder engagement for the successful development of our Big Valley GSP. So in April of 2021, the Big Valley GSA adopted the Big Valley GSA charter document, which can be found on our Water Resources website. And this document establishes the official non-voting committee. This committee works collaboratively with the GSA, stakeholders, district, and the consultants to aid in successful development of the GSP. So the GSPAC, again, that stands for Big Valley Groundwater Sustainability Basin Advisory Committee. We love acronyms here in the water world. Serves as a strong, effective advocate for the interest group represented. Again, they work collaboratively with other committee members and the GSAs. They collectively reflect diversity of interests, et cetera, again, as outlined in Water Code 10723, and act in a manner that will enhance trust among all stakeholders. So here on the right-hand side, you can see some of our members that have stepped up to the plate and who serve as our GSPAC members. We did just update this. One of the amendments that we included in the most recent charter document is we have now filled the environmental ecosystem seat, and that is Val Nixon with the Lake County Land Trust. And we only have one more seat on our actual GSPAC that is open, and that is our disadvantaged community representative. So again, all these beneficial uses and users who are eligible to sit on the GSPAC are outlined in Water Code 10723. So again, just outlining some of our GSPAC representatives, we have folks from the Lake County Farm Bureau, Big Valley Band of Pomo Indians, Tri-Council for the Clear Lake Hitch, Lake County Special Districts, Kelseyville Unified School District, private well owners, and again, the Lake County Land Trust. So these are all folks that live in the basement, have interest in the groundwater basin. All right, so our Big Valley Groundwater Sustainability Plan, our consultant onboarding. So again, the development and implementation of our GSP, which is required by Sigma, again, due to the state by January 31st, 2022, was funded entirely through funds awarded to the district through the Prop 68 Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, Round 3 Planning. And we were awarded under $1.4 million with $0 cost share from the department to develop and implement this GSP. So to ensure that we had the capacity and knowledge and resources to develop this GSP, the county went through the RFP process, which is request for proposals, as outlined in County Code of Ordinance, Chapter 10, Purchasing. So through this process, again, we released this RFP proposal to interested consultants and eligible consultants. In January of this past year, we received 3 different RFPs from qualified consulting firms. And through this entire selection process, the district onboarded a selection consultant committee who reviewed all proposals and identified Ludorf and Scalmanini and Stantec Consulting Firm as most qualified firms to successfully complete the project at hand. So Ludorf and Scalmanini and Stantec are 2 different consulting firms, but they are a joint effort, and they submitted a proposal together, and they're the ones working collaboratively with us, with our GSA, with our GSPAC, and our committee members to ensure that we complete the project at hand. All right, so again, Ludorf and Scalmanini and Stantec, they are based out of the Woodland and Sacramento areas. So Ludorf and Scalmanini and Stantec have the expertise and capacity to fulfill the requirements to complete the project at hand under a quickly approaching project submission timeline. Again, this project is due to the state. We have to go through the review process, et cetera, by January 31st, 2022. So a lot of work to be done. It is moving very, very quickly, as you all will see, and I will be presenting on here in the near future again. So between our department and then also Ludorf and Scalmanini, we have a little under 40 different team members who are working collaboratively to complete the project at hand. So again, Sigma also outlines the tasks for successful GSP development. I will very quickly go over these tasks, but again, I will be updating the board as we move along, and then I will be presenting in the next slide. I'll be presenting our Big Valley Basin public meeting information, where again, we will be breaking down these tasks individually. So the tasks that Ludorf and Scalmanini and Stantec are working with us on for our Big Valley GSP development include project management. Task 2 is communications and public comment. Task 3 is data collection. Task 4 is defining the area plan and basin setting. Task 5 is modeling and water budget analysis. Task 6 is developing sustainability management criteria. Task 7 is designing sustainability progress monitoring program. Task 8 is identifying and evaluating projects and management actions. Task 9 is developing GSP implementation, progress costs, detailed schedule, and reporting. And then task 10 is to compile and complete the GSP for adoption, which again is by January 31st, 2022. So since we onboarded our consultants, they have been working very hard to help us move along with our timeline. So some of the work that they've done to date is they have drafted up chapters 1, 2.1, 2.2.1 and 2.2.2 for review, and we'll be releasing these same chapters for public review in the near future. So again, these most recent chapters are in draft form. They have sent that to the GSPAC for review, and we will be releasing those out to the public for public review and comment in the near future. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Again, with that, so the consultants also understand how much knowledge and information that our local public is able to carry for the development of our Big Valley GSP. So along with bringing our consultants on board and having a GSA and having a GSPAC and working with the district, we are also be forming ad hoc committees. And we're in the very, very early stages of forming those ad hoc committees that is open to the public to participate in. With these ad hoc committees, we'll be covering information on hydraulic monitoring, stakeholder engagement, and outreach. So again, I will be providing information in the next few slides on how folks can stay tuned with that. If they're interested in participating in those ad hoc committees, or again, just anything in terms of Big Valley GSP development, I will have that link so you can participate in those as necessary. And again, making sure that all folks are at the table when necessary. All right, so our Big Valley Basin meetings, our Big Valley GSPAC meetings, these are open to the public. They're held at 11 a.m. Pacific time on the fourth Friday of every month. We do have this information on our Water Resources website that has the dates already outlined. So put a placeholder in your calendar if you want to stay up to date on all things Big Valley. Again, we are planning on meeting from 11 a.m. to 1:30, but since we do have a lot on our plate, don't be surprised if some of our meetings run a little bit over, but we will be sure to notify folks properly on how long the meetings will come. And then especially if we have ad hoc committee members or committee meetings, we will also be releasing that information to the public so folks are able to participate in those. So right now, our meetings have been held currently. Again, we've met 6 times so far with our Big Valley Basin public meetings. Along with our Big Valley standing GSPAC meetings, I will be coming to the board at least once a month for an update on our Big Valley Basin GSP development update. So again, our meetings are currently held virtual, but our next GSPAC meeting, which will be taking place on July 23rd, we will be discussing the possibility of holding these meetings in a hybrid model of both virtual and in person. We anticipate that for the remainder of our Big Valley GSP development, that these meetings will be held in that hybrid model to ensure that all folks feel comfortable and are able to participate in any meeting that they feel necessary. These meetings are also recorded, so if you're not able to participate, have no fear. You can still participate in the fun, and you can watch these via live on our YouTube page. If you go on YouTube and you look up Lake County Water Resources Department, we have it broken down so you can listen in our Big Valley Groundwater Basin meetings. And these meeting materials and information are also found on the Water Resources website. So if you would like to stay connected and get all of the email blasts, all of the meeting materials, anything in terms of Big Valley Groundwater Basin, we have this awesome opt-in page that you can click on our Water Resources website. We just fill out your name, your email, your address, and then also if you're located within the groundwater basin. And if you're unsure if you're located within the groundwater basin, we also have a handy-dandy tool provided to us by the California Department of Water Resources, where you can click on your address and see if you reside in our Big Valley Basin, or if you're interested in exploring other prioritized basins under SIGMA. So with that being said, I will go ahead and open it up to Q&A. Again, my name is Marina Delajanis. I serve as the Deputy Water Resources Director and also the lead for our Big Valley Groundwater Sustainability Plan Advisory Committee. I also have the link to our Water Resources page where you can get up to date. We update this on a weekly basis that has all things. We will have all the draft items on there. We have all the charter documents, anything in terms of Big Valley and GSP development, and also from our friends at the state levels with the State Water Resource Control Board and the work that they do with SIGMA, and then also the California Department of Water Resources. So with that being said, I will open it up for Q&A.
Thank you so much for your presentation today. Are there any questions from Board of Supervisors? And Sam, if it's possible to turn the lights back on? Perfect, thank you so much. Supervisor Crandall.
Yes, I just have one question, Deputy Delagiannis. When you ask for or explain about the disadvantaged community, is that within the Big Valley Basin or is that Lake County wide? I just wanted to make sure it's noted.
That's a great question, Supervisor Crandall. So that is one of our conversations that we have been having. Ideally, that disadvantaged community representative resides in the Big Valley Basin. We do have some folks who have been participating who just represent disadvantaged communities statewide as well. So that's one thing that we are in close communications with and we're still trying to figure out. So if anyone is interested at all, we do have that opportunity for you to come to our Big Valley GSPAC meetings and present if you're interested in whatnot. And that will be a discussion amongst the GSPAC members. Again, this is a non-voting member, so that would eventually have to go before the board. There'd have to be some sort of concise yes or no between the GSPAC, but that's a great question and we're still trying to figure that out. So,
Thank you for the question. Any further comments or questions from the board? I just have a question of curiosity. You didn't provide new information or data today, just more a conversation of the process that's being taken in order to get to our final goal. I know that you've been collecting data over many years. It's not just data from this year, but how is this year's data being implemented for the 2042 goal? To make sure that we're not just using this as a kind of a baseline for the water that we should expect to have. I know that this year is not an anomaly, but it's an extreme, exceptional drought at this moment in comparison to your average water situation.
Right, and that's a great question, Mr. Chair, so thank you for that. And that is one thing, the whole goal of Sigma is to identify and address climate change. So as you mentioned, this year is not an anomaly, it's gonna happen again. So we are taking that data along with the data that we've been able to collect since the 60s. We're also working collaboratively with the Farm Bureau, special districts, et cetera, other entities and groups who have data from the basin and whatnot and looking forward. So one of the whole tasks of Sigma is to look at the data that we've collected, including this year, analyzing that data and creating a hydrologic model. So with the data that we've created, we can look at what we've seen and anticipate where we're going to go in the future. So that's another reason why we brought on consultants on board to help us develop that model. They have grand expertise in developing these models with the idea of climate change in hand. And another thing that we're also looking at in terms of our not only our groundwater data that we've been collecting for the wells in the basin, but also lake levels, precipitation, et cetera. So taking a variety of factors, same with land use, anticipated, plans for that basin. So what are the goals? What's going to happen in that basin? Trying to look forward, not just look back. So that is a big focus of our GSP development and implementation. So getting all the data that we have, but also anticipating what's to come in the future.
Appreciate the clarification. Any further comments or questions before we open it up for the public? All right, let's go ahead and open it up. Any questions from the boardroom? Please come up to the microphone and ask your question. And if you are in the Zoom room, please go ahead and click the button at the bottom of your screen to raise your hand or dial *9 if you're calling via telephone, and we'll get to you after this comment.
I'm Joan Moss. I live on Cobb Mountain, but I do go through Big Valley to get to Lakeport sometimes. And I'd like to know if you have driven through Big Valley and seen the walnut orchards that are dry. There's walnut orchards with no leaves on them. I think there's a very serious problem with water. I didn't understand what you were saying. You were talking too fast for me. I'll have to look it up on the internet. But I hope that you can recognize that we are in trouble in Big Valley with water, walnuts that don't have any green leaves, walnut trees. I hope you drive through and look at them. It hurts your heart. Thank you.
Thank you. I do know that we did receive a report earlier this year. I don't think it was necessarily the leaves of the walnut trees. I think it was the actual walnuts themselves that due to the quick change in temperature sometime in December, where it warmed up to a temperature that is kind of uncommon for December, that some of the walnuts were having some issues in the budding stage because of that. So that could be some of what you're seeing. But again, I don't think that was necessarily with the leaves, so that could be a drought issue as well. Or maybe it's, unfortunately, walnuts are disappearing and maybe they're no longer being tended to at that point. I don't know which specific field you're talking about.
I can speak to that.
There we go.
On? Yes. We've been talking about that in the Ag Committee. The dry summer last year paired with the very warm fall and then quick change to cold temperatures. The trees did not go into dormancy gradually like they normally would. And when trees were expected to bud out this spring, there was significant damage that was noticed by almost all the growers for most of the trees. Right now, the growers are evaluating the trees if they will ever be productive again. So you're going to see big decisions made with the walnut groves, and those decisions are not being taken lightly by our local growers. And they're, this is something that we're working on. Our UC Extension is giving us information on that. There's some programs to help the growers, but this is climate change, and this is devastating to our walnut trees.
Thank you for the
And I
explanation.
would like to, can I say something on
Please.
that? Thank you. And thank you for that, Supervisor Pyska. So one thing, our consultants actually did come to our Big Valley Basin this past Friday, which was really exciting. We didn't know if that was going to be possible just with COVID. Of course, we have safety measures in place. So they have come to the basin. They were able to see it firsthand because, looking at data on an Excel document can be a lot different than actually being able to see it firsthandedly as well. We also have folks on our GSPAC committee, and we are in active communication with walnut growers, farmers, et cetera. So we have lots of ag representative on our Big Valley Basin and be able to have these conversations with them, seeing pictures, doing our monthly well runs. We go out once a month and we do our well runs, the district in itself in our Big Valley Basin. So we do see this firsthandedly, and we are not the only county, unfortunately, who are dealing with situations of this nature. Again, leaning on our friends at the state and our consultants to get the best information out there for not only what we're experiencing this year, but with anticipation that this is going to happen in years to come. So.
And it is not just the walnuts, they're also seeing it with the wine grapes.
All right, thank you very much. Any further comments from the boardroom? Please.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. Thomas Nichols, Scotts Valley. I would like to propose that the Board of Supervisors, if they haven't already considered it, to put a moratorium on all future planned vineyards, hemp grows, legal cannabis, and golf courses till we get out of this drought. This is crazy. Despite all of this information we just heard and all this stuff that's going on with the groundwater, it isn't going to matter. We are in a serious problem. There are serious rumors going around in the town of Nice right now. They're very concerning. And if they are true, I would not want to be in any of your shoes. We have to stop this growth of water use and get on some kind of conservation with the agricultural departments and agriculture. And again, we need to relook at the lake that was proposed or the reservoir that was proposed in Scotts Creek and start thinking about that, because like they say, we're going to experience these droughts over and over and over again, and we have an opportunity to put a dam in there. It would be most beneficial for the county and the city of Lakeport especially. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? And let me check on the Zoom room. I don't see any hands up, but are there any comments in the Zoom room before we do a do-over? And seeing none, if you can keep it succinct, please.
It's a different subject.
But we need to make sure we don't stray far from the Sigma subject, because that is the agenda item that we are discussing. So we're not discussing the drought specifically. We are specifically speaking of Big Valley Basin and the Sigma project that is being taken on due to the legislation from the state of California.
What I'm going to say is about water use.
Then please relate it back to the Big Basin, Big Valley Basin and water use.
Can I say something else?
And again, let's keep it as closely as possible to the Big Valley Basin, Sigma.
We're studying the Big Valley groundwater basin. What is going on with the Scotts Valley water basin?
So due to the legislation from the state of California, the Big Valley Basin has been specifically the focus of the state, and we are supposed to tackle the subject matter of keeping track and studying Big Valley Basin in order to ensure the long-term longevity of the area of Big Valley. That is a state function, and that we have to carry out that mission.
Why is the state looking at just that basin and not others?
And so they have been looking at all other basins. It's a matter of agriculture and land use and making sure that it will continue again into the future. So they're not looking at everything, but they're definitely looking at mainly agricultural areas and how long will it last based on the current uses. And I'll let Deputy Director Deligianis give you more details in case that I just butchered that explanation.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You did a great job. So yes, the state is looking at other basins too. So as we know, there are many other groundwater basins throughout the state, but the state per Bulletin 118, and again, this information, I'm more than happy to provide that information on how they identify priority basins. So SGMA is specifically for priority basins. There's high priority basins, medium priority basins, and low priority basins. Throughout the 13 different groundwater basins in Lake County, we only have one medium priority basin. And again, that basin was identified. It's not in, the water is not going anywhere. We're not at severe risk. That's just a basin that we need to ensure that we reach that sustainability and meet that sustainability criteria by January 31st or by January 2042. So the state does look at other basins. They just have priority basins that we're looking at, and our focus this current year is Big Valley Basin per the state's evaluation, which is an entire assessment that they do, that they've been doing for many, many years, and they have all that information. And again, I have information on other basins as well. But as Mr. Chair said, we only have one priority basin in the county.
And if I'm correct, we were at one point looking at the Upper Lake Basin, but by providing newer information, it was then taken off the list from the state for us to prioritize. Is that correct?
That is correct. And then going off of Scott Valley, just to address that comment that was previously stated, the consultants are looking at Scotts Valley too. Again, we're not analyzing or assessing Scotts Valley, but we do understand SGMA also outlines that we have to look at surrounding basins as well, and Scotts Valley is the closest basin. Although it is not a priority basin under SGMA, we are looking at Scotts Valley too when we're doing our hydrologic modeling, because as we know, groundwater has no county borders, et cetera. It flows and how it wants to flow. So we're not doing a Big Valley we're not doing a GSP for Scotts Valley, but we are taking that into consideration during our development and our modeling, et cetera. And we'll be sharing that information too during our Big Valley GSPAC meetings and public meetings as well.
All right. Thank you very much for that further information. We do have a hand up in the Zoom room. Betsy Kahn, if we can unmute, please.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Marina. And I just wanted to clarify something. I've been involved, the Essential Public Information Center has been involved in the early phases of identifying the impaired groundwater bodies in the county of Lake. I participated along with the Big Valley Rancheria Band of Pomo Indians and the city of Lakeport in some correspondence with the state about the Scotts Valley groundwater basin. At the time, the Department of Water Resources, Scott DeLeon and your staff were able to convince the state Department of Water Resources that Scotts Valley groundwater basin is not at that level of impairment because it's not being overdrafted. There was a good deal of technical documentation and information exchanged about that issue. I know of absolutely no interest in the Upper Lake groundwater basin, and I am a volunteer for the Upper Lake County Water District. We have our own sustainable groundwater management program. We have, to protect the groundwater basin, even though it is not at this time declared as an impaired water body. But this is the second time I've heard you, Mr. Chair, speak about this Upper Lake inquiry. If there is such a thing, I would really appreciate knowing more about it. So, Marina, I'll email you and maybe ask you for some details if you don't mind. This is something I've worked for probably almost 20 years on supporting the Upper Lake Upper Lake County Water District as a volunteer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and that is definitely the right contact for the correct information, as I may have misspoken when I said Upper Lake. I just remembered that there was another basin that we needed to submit some information. Any further public comment on the Zoom room or in the boardroom? We have somebody in the boardroom. Please come up.
Good afternoon. I've been here since 1960, and we've had at least 4 or 5 droughts. This is nothing new. There was a report came out the other day in 2019, all of our reservoirs in California were at 128% full. That was able to sustain at least for 5 years. We are just mismanaging water. That's all this is.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment. Any further comments from the public? Looking at the Zoom room and the boardroom? And seeing none, let's bring it back to the board. Any further comments or questions for our water department? All right, Deputy Director, thank you so much for your time and your presentation. And
Thank you so much.
I believe that you and your team will continue into item 6.7, 10:25 a.m., Civic Spark Fellows presentation, the Clear Lake Shoreline Assessment and Inventory Project for the Lake County Water Resources Department.
That is correct. You guys are stuck with me once more. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have 2 Civic Spark Fellows who are joining us today, Nicole D'Amato and Liam Healy, who will be covering the work that they've been doing these past 11 months for their AmeriCorps project. And let me go ahead and share my screen. Can everyone see that okay?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. So hello again, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Marina Delajanis here. I serve as Deputy Water Resources Director. I also serve as the Site Supervisor for the 2020, the current Civic Spark Fellows who have been working with us the past 11 months for their Clear Lake Shoreline Assessment and Inventory Project for the Lake County Water Resources Department. So I'm just going to be covering very briefly what is Civic Spark. So Civic Spark is a Governor's Initiative AmeriCorps program dedicated to building capacity for local public agencies to address community resilience issues such as climate change, water resource management, housing, and mobility. Civic Spark is a program of the Local Government Commission in partnership with the State of California through the Office of Planning and Research and California Volunteers. So all fellows, again, this is just a state-ran program. They will spend at least 1,700 hours, keyword at least, over the 11 months of service year serving full-time with their host agency. Along with completing tasks outlined in their placement site project, Civic Spark Fellows are also required to complete applications for their AmeriCorps service year, such as hosting and participating in volunteer engagement projects, career development workshops, progress reports, and a project capstone poster project, amongst other obligations. So since joining the Lake County community in 2017 and 2018, Civic Spark has hosted 14 fellows throughout the community of Lake County, which is awesome, as we are one of the only rural communities that have Civic Spark fellows, and the fact that we have such a great presence from the past few years is awesome, but I'm biased. I love Civic Spark. So some of the former and current Civic Spark placement sites include Hidden Valley Lake Community Services District down in South County, Lake County Special Districts, City of Lakeport Special Districts, and the Clear Lake Environmental Research Center with, of course, water resources. So with that being said, I am elated to introduce our 2020 and 2021 AmeriCorps Civic Spark Fellows, which include Liam Healy and Nicole D'Amato, who have been working with the department the last 11 months, developing and implementing the Clear Lake Shoreline Assessment and Inventory. So with that, I am going to pass it over to our fellows.
Thank you, Marina. As Marina said, my name is Nicole D'Amato, and I am one of the Civic Spark Fellows with Lake County Water Resources. To kick us off, I want to do a little bit of framing for our project. As Marina said, it is the Clear Lake Shoreline Assessment and Inventory, and essentially this consists of 3 major components. Number 1 is data collection, and my co-fellow here, Liam, will give us a nice overview of our work in the field and our data collection efforts. Our second component is policy analysis, which I'll dive into a little bit later with regard to the Chapter 23 of the County Code of Ordinances. And finally, public outreach and stakeholder engagement. And I will also dive into this a bit later. So Liam, if you want to kick us off.
Great, yeah, hello, my name is Liam. And in terms of our data collection aspect of our project, we relied upon a methodology called Score the Shore, which is a quantitative tool designed towards delineating the shoreline based on its natural and built features. And this was developed by the Michigan Clean Water Corps. So some of the main things that we're looking at with Score the Shore for the Clear Lake shoreline are the percentage of emergent vegetation, which is things such as tues, the amount of woody debris, which is the just branches and trees that are in the water, which provide a critical habitat and also stabilize the shoreline. Additionally, things such as erosion, vertical artificial, which are things such as seawalls, and sloped artificial, which would be riprap, as well as just to touch on a couple, there are many other things that we look at as well. So specifically for Clear Lake itself, we collected data in approximately 1,000-foot transects and split up Clear Lake into 17 individual regions. So with this data that we are collecting and through the Score the Shore, it can provide lake managers and the public the information they need towards maintaining existing healthy areas and then also steps towards improving degraded ones along the Clear Lake shoreline. Next slide, please. So a big part of our project was digitizing data collection. And this was mostly done through the Esri platform. And right here is an example of ArcGIS Collector. So with Collector, you can pretty much completely digitize your, oh, could you go back a couple slides? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So with Collector, you can digitize how you want to portray your data. And so right here is an example of one of our transects that I mentioned previously, where we collect data along in the 1,000-foot segments. So that right there is a transect for our Soda Bay region, which is also a Hitch priority region. And the pink dots at each end of the transect represent the start and end points. Could you go ahead, please? Yeah. So in terms of once we are located to our area, then we collect data specifically through this app called ArcGIS Survey 123. And right here is an example of just the form being filled out with it auto-populating the calculations that are built into the survey itself as it being a quantitative tool. So the ultimate goal or the ultimate result of each section is that it gives an overall section score based upon the riparian zone characteristics, the littoral zone, and the erosion control. So these are some of the main things we're looking at, and we also take GPS start and end points, and that pretty much gives an individual score for each section of the shoreline. Next slide, please. So right here is Clear Lake, and these in color are the transects that we have completed. The red colors represent transects with lower overall section scores, so those would be areas with potentially not as healthy of shorelines. Yellow and orange are about medium section scores, and green are good section scores with healthier shorelines, and white are areas that we have not yet addressed. So next slide, please. So some of our initial results here on the left-hand side, as I mentioned, here are the total section scores. So and these are some of our regions as well that we have assessed. So Soda Bay right here is one of our higher regions in terms of overall section score, with Lakeport, and then areas in the lower arm coming up afterwards. And then areas such as Nice and Lucerne and Clear Lake have overall lower section scores. So another thing this methodology also addresses is developmental density, which examines the number of houses and major buildings, as well as docks in a section of shoreline. Excuse me. So higher developmental densities are obviously areas with higher developmental density. So Clear Lake is an area with very high developmental density, as you can see, they're 23.9, and then followed up with all very similarly Lakeport, Nice, Lucerne, and the lower arm hovering around 12, and then Soda Bay is an area with lower developmental density. So in terms of our current progress, we have completed 93 of 354 transects. We did get a bit of a late start on this project, started in April, but that does account for 26% of the transects on the lake. So next slide.
Awesome. Thank you, Liam. So I can jump in here and talk a bit about our stakeholder engagement and public outreach efforts, which I mentioned is the second of our three components of the Clear Lake Shoreline Assessment and Inventory. So we had several different methods that we used in order to engage the community throughout our service year. The first of which is a survey, which was intended to gauge public knowledge, perceptions, and priorities regarding the Clear Lake shoreline. So we shared this survey through Facebook. We had QR codes hung up all throughout the county so people could scan it. We ended up with 67 responses to our survey, which was awesome. And I can highlight a few of the findings that we got from this survey. So 3/4 of respondents believe that dilapidated or broken down docks are a large problem around Clear Lake. And over half of respondents think that our department, the Water Resources Department, should prioritize addressing these broken down docks. So surveys like this are really informative so we can figure out what it is that the public thinks is important and how we as water resources can better serve our community. Another method that we use for stakeholder outreach is educational materials such as ArcGIS story maps, handouts, and you can see sort of in the middle left of the screen there, we have a lakebed permitting handout that I created as part of these outreach efforts. And then our final component to stakeholder engagement, which Marina touched on briefly in her introduction, is volunteer engagement. As Civic Spark Fellows, we are required to do volunteer engagement projects for AmeriCorps. So Liam's was a Highland Springs Fire Fuel Reduction Service Day, and mine was the Clear Lake Shoreline Cleanup Day, which was hosted just last month in June. And as far as the cleanup goes, that was hosted, as I mentioned, with myself and 2 other Civic Spark Fellows who are in Lake County, not with water resources, but as Marina mentioned, we're lucky to have a variety of Civic Spark Fellows in the county. And through that event, we hosted cleanup sites at Nice Lucerne and Lakeport and Clear Lake, and we are happy to report that we collected over 1,300 pounds of trash in that one day. And it was a very hot morning, so we're really happy that the community could come out and help us clean up our shoreline. Next slide, please. Thank you. So now I'll move into the third and final component of our project, and that is policy analysis. And specifically for us, our policy analysis component focused on Chapter 23, the Clear Lake Shoreline Ordinance, which is part of the Lake County Code of Ordinances. So the main component of this, I guess the main element of this part of the project is that we want to create recommended updates to Chapter 23. Chapter 23 has been around for a while, and our department has noticed that there are gaps in the ordinance that make it more difficult for us to serve the public and to manage the lake bed. So one of my major tasks was to meet with various people in the department to figure out where the gaps are and to recommend amendments to Chapter 23. So as I mentioned, I sort of serve in this capacity to meet the needs that the department can't currently fill. This is really time consuming to look through the ordinance and to go through policy. It can take a while, and our staff are very busy doing X, Y, and Z. So that's where I came in, and I was able to fill this gap, I guess. And I'm very interested in policy. So for me, this was a fun project to endeavor. So my role really was to create a foundation for amending the ordinance moving forward. I myself am not going to be the one presenting the ordinance amendments, but I was able to come up with a pretty comprehensive guide for recommendations that the department can take moving forward. Next slide, please. So a few topics that we looked at with Chapter 23. This is not at all an extensive list. It is much longer than this, but some of them include houseboats, various definitions within the ordinance, non-conforming structures such as that falling apart dock that you see there at the bottom, that photo there, floating structures such as the floating dock in the upper left-hand corner, and mooring buoys such as the top right photo, and more, as I said. And this is something that Water Resources will be bringing to the board in the next few months. So I will not get too into the weeds here, but I just wanted to sort of capture some of the topics that we've looked at. And something else that is important to note is even though the amendments are not yet complete, all of the recommendations that I've come up with our team, they're really focused on improving Water Resources' ability to serve the public and to manage the shoreline in a way that promotes the public's interest in commerce, fishery, navigation, recreation, all of those great things that we love about Clear Lake. Next slide, please. So the process for amending the ordinance, it's been a long process. It's something that I started with as soon as we started our service year, almost 11 months ago now, which is crazy to think. The first step in this process was to interview our staff and to reach out to the public with that survey that I mentioned during the stakeholder engagement component. And this was intended to identify perceived gaps in Chapter 23. What are we doing well? What can be done better? And how can we use the ordinance to be able to better serve the public, as I mentioned? The second step, and one that was very time consuming, was to draft the recommended amendments. And this was a process of revisions. It wasn't just all in one go. It's taken many different iterations. And that kind of blends into step 3 was workshopping these recommended amendments and revising them with our lakebed management team here in Water Resources. So step 4 And what I'm currently working on as we're wrapping up our service year is to create a plan for next steps that the department can take to amend the ordinance. And that's where once our fellowship ends, we move into step 5, where our lake bed management team will prioritize the amendments that they like and they want to move forward with. And then we'll end up moving forward by working with county council, coming to the board eventually, and continually revising the amendments until we get something that meets our needs and helps us to serve the public. And we hope to also educate stakeholders about these changes so that the public is aware of the changes that we make and how that affects them as stakeholders of Clear Lake. Next slide, please. And finally, as I mentioned, we are wrapping up our service year here in the next 3 weeks or so. But the fun doesn't stop there. We are going to be transitioning this project because we will be having another Civic Spark Fellow in the fall. That Fellows project is the Clear Lake Watershed Stewards Program, and this program will essentially build on the work that Liam and I have done so far, while also doing some really fun things. So a quick snapshot of what our next fellow will be doing. They'll be continuing Score the Shore. As Liam said, we got started with the actual fieldwork and data collection component a bit late as we were figuring out how we could adapt the methodology to Clear Lake. That took a lot of time. But now that we have the methodology figured out and we have the staff and the resources to do this, the new fellow will be able to continue and hopefully finish Score the Shore. They also will continue with our data management and stakeholder outreach and public engagement components, and hopefully develop a Clear Lake Watershed Stewards program to help us work with property owners to manage the lake and keep it healthy. A vibrant shoreline is the goal. And as I mentioned, or at least alluded to in the last slide, Lake County Water Resources will be moving forward with those ordinance amendments. The fellow will not be involved with that next year. This will move to our county staff, and you'll be seeing more information about that in the coming months. So with that, next slide, please. And that concludes our presentation. We thank you so much for your time today, and our contact information there is at the bottom of the slide. Feel free to reach out to us, and I'd like to open it up for a Q&A.
Thank you so much for your presentation. And just to speak about Civic Sparks and AmeriCorps, I get this feeling that somebody in our staff has had the experience of being on AmeriCorps, which is probably why we have a great link to getting such a large number of Civic Sparks Fellows here in Lake County. I know that I have worked and seen the work of Liam with the mapping project that he's done for the Middle Creek Restoration Project, and really appreciate the fact that you've helped advance so many policies and so many things that we need to change and don't have the capacity necessarily to provide. So thank you so much for your work and for your time here with us in Lake County. Are there any questions? Supervisor Pyska.
So I was going to say the same thing. Liam and Nicole, we appreciate that you spent your service year here in Lake County, and we do have a strong Civic Spark. We have strong representation here, and we have benefited greatly from all of your service. So thank you for choosing Lake County, and I really wish you well, and your careers ahead of you are going to be very bright. And we really appreciate the extra capacity that you do bring, and I'm looking forward to these recommendations that are going to be brought to our board for ordinance changes.
Thank you, Supervisor Pyska.
Anyone else have a comment or a question? So I did have a question. It kind of hurts to see the low number for the Clear Lake area. And I'm just curious, if there was more Tues in the area, if the score would have changed drastically, or if it's not as simple as that? Because I know we have pretty large beach areas that are very wide open, that don't offer the natural habitat that used to be there. Most likely used to be there. I'm wondering if that would make a huge difference to maybe look at, and maybe one of the recommendations will be to push for more restoration of the Tues.
Yeah, that would be a factor that would definitely increase the scores for sure. There are numerous other ones that play into that. I can't speak completely to the complete scenario there, but I do think kind of just shifting towards natural shorelines with Tues and such, and moving away from these hardscape shorelines that are very evident there in terms of seawalls and riprap and creating also, as well as with Tues, in areas that you see high Tues, you also see large vegetative buffers in terms of the riparian landscape, where that is also a strong indicator towards healthier shorelines. So I think Tues can be a big factor in improving that, but then I think also with Tues come other improvements as well.
Right, and I think it's difficult in the area with such a high density development that's already occurred. That's not something that you can make a change for that. So I think that there's always going to be some lower scores in that region because of that. So I do appreciate the project and definitely looking forward to the recommendations, including the ordinance changes. Let's go ahead and open this up to the public if there's no further comment from the board. Anyone from the public have a comment on this agenda item? And seeing none, let's go ahead and bring it back. And I believe I heard that it would be in a few months or something along those lines that we would see some of these potential changes to the ordinance. Do you have a better timeline than just a few months for us?
Yes, I wish I could get specific. Actually, I wish I could have brought those changes to you today, those recommendations today. I do not currently have a timeline to give you at this moment. That is something that, as Liam and I prepare to transition out of Civic Spark, we have a variety of transition materials that we fill out, and that includes recommendations to the department for how they can continue the efforts that we've started. So that is definitely something I can look into and I can get to you later, is a little bit more of a clearer timeline. But as we know, timelines are, there's a lot of curveballs and there's a lot of factors that go into this. So a few months is the best I can do right now. Thank you.
And I hope that you get an invitation when we do bring this to the board. I do also have a curiosity. Is this something that might be able to be presented to the cities to better understand in their future development in ensuring that they're protecting the coastal areas of our lake and things like that?
Sure, yeah, and that could be something that is part of what the next fellow does. We're trying to find ways to make sure that we're engaging every stakeholder who needs to be engaged, whether that be lakefront property owners, the cities themselves. So that is also something that we can put in the transition materials to recommend that the next fellow and our staff moving forward, that they focus on.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, thank you so much for your work and your presentation. And Director De Leon.
Yes, Chair Sabatier, if I could just have one moment. I know you're running late, so I'll be brief. I just wanted to acknowledge Liam and Nicole. I don't know if they'll remember this, but I believe it was the first day they came to the department. We had a meeting, first or second day, we had a meeting, and I challenged them that whatever task that they took on this year, whatever project that they did, that the product was useful, that there was at the end, that it was going to be something that we could use, that it could be something that could be expanded upon. And as I sit here today and I watch this amazing report and the summary of the amazing work that they've done, they have exceeded my expectations significantly. And I can't thank both of them enough. As you can see, they're a couple of amazing folks, and they just brought tremendous energy to the department. And not that we had enough energy already, but it's kind of challenging to keep up with them up here. But they did spectacular work this year, and we're certainly going to miss them. They were not only did great work, but they were great additions to the team and brought a lot of enjoyment to the department. So I'd just like to acknowledge them publicly and thank them very much for everything they did.
Thank you for those
Thank
last
you,
words.
Director De Leon.
I'm not sure what that was. Okay, we're going to move on then. All right, thank you so much, and we'll go ahead and close out that item. We are going to go straight to item 5.3, one of the consent agenda items that was pulled. Approve amendment number 2 to 2019 agreement with Tetra Tech, Inc. for for Sulphur, Pawnee, and Mendocino Complex wildfires, structural burn debris removal, insurance cost recovery, and invoicing in Lake County, California, with compensation not to exceed $492,425 for an extended term ending November 25th, 2021, to add Clayton and LNU Lightning Complex collections and authorize the chair to sign. And CAO Hutchinson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Matthew Rostein's project. He'll present it to you. We asked for it to be pulled off consent very briefly because it needed a minor correction.
Good afternoon, Board, and thank you for this opportunity to address you. So yes, the primary reason that was pulled from the consent agenda is that the term of the agreement is actually being extended through November 2022, not November 2021. And I'm available to provide additional background if needed. This amendment does, as Carol mentioned, it does loop in those other fires that were not previously contracted, and the per unit price is actually lower than the original agreement. The amendment was also put together in consultation with County Disaster Finance and purchasing staff, as well as representatives from Cal OES and FEMA. So we do feel very confident in what's presented today, but I'm here to provide background if needed.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions from the board on this item? All right, and thank you again for the clarification that it's all the way to November 25th, 2022. Let's open it up for the public. Anyone in the Zoom room have a comment or a question? And let's go ahead and bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I will move to approve amendment number 2 to 2019 agreement with Tetra Tech Inc. for the Sulphur, Pawnee, and Mendocino Complex wildfire structural burn debris removal insurance cost recovery and invoicing in Lake County. California folding in Clayton, oh, that's weird. California folding in Clayton and LNU Lightning Complex collections with compensation not to exceed $492,425 for an extended term ending November 25th, 2022, and to add and LNU Lightning Complex collections and authorize the chair to sign. I think I got that right.
Second.
A little confusing on some.
And the amendment was within the motion, so we should be good. So we have a motion from Supervisor Simon and a second from Supervisor Pyska. Johanna, roll call, please.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott,
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's go ahead and I think we have some more staff waiting for us, and let's get to that. Okay, let's go ahead straight to 7.2. Consideration of lease agreement between the County of Lake and John Allen Dye Trust of 1993 for the premises located at 325 North Forbes Street, Lakeport, for use as Office of the Registrar of Voters / Elections for a 10-year term from August 1st, 2021 to July 31st, 2031. CAO Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're really excited to present this item to you today. Matthew Rostein has taken the lead on this and has worked very closely with our Registrar of Voters, Maria Valadez, who I believe is in the Zoom with us. She
Correct.
was earlier. So Matthew will present the lease, and then Maria will touch on a little bit about why this is such a great acquisition for her department.
Thank you once again. So as your board is aware, there have been long-standing needs of greater space for both our auditor, controller, county clerk, and registrar of voters offices. And we're very excited that the 10-year lease that we're presenting your board today can solve both of those needs. You will recall the Space Committee initially authorized the search for a suitable space for the Registrar of Voters office in mid-2019. And this is actually the first space that we've identified that is sufficiently close to the courthouse and appropriately sized to meet the needs of the elections office. So this is truly exciting. There are some initial improvements that are needed before the elections office can occupy the space, and those are listed in Appendix A of the agreement, which is on PDF page 9. The agreed upon initial lease rate is $1.11 per square foot, and that's going to stay the same for the first 5 years of the agreement, and then it will increase at 90% of the consumer price index up to a maximum of 2% per year. And we also envision that the agreement can be, well, the agreement states it can be extended in up to 10-year increments. And the current property owner is interested in this being a very long-term arrangement, which is a great thing for both the county and the Dye family. So the Registrar of Voters office is expected to be able to open operations at this new location as soon as early 2022. I did want to just draw your attention to a few minor corrections that we made following the posting of your board's agenda. One is just the page numbering was corrected. There are 9 pages to the agreement. For whatever reason, it was off in the version that was posted. Today's date has also been added to the first page. And the bottom of page 7 was updated to read, "In witness whereof, County and John Allen Dye Trust of 1993 executed this lease agreement on the day and year first written above," which is today's date. The county signature block was also updated, as this agreement will be signed by Chairman Sabatier on behalf of the county. And also, the proposed action on the memo should have included the language "and authorize the chair to sign." So I wanted to just bring that to your attention when you offer the motion. So that's all I have, but I would like to, if your board is open, we'd love to give Maria Valadez an opportunity to talk about why this space is so perfect for her office.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear from her. Director Valadez.
Good afternoon. Maria Valadez, Registrar of Voters. So first off, I'd like to thank Carol, Matt, and everybody in admin that's been helping Lars, Bob Allen, for working collaboratively with me on, giving me plans and allowing me to see the building and having the ideas for what we'd like the remodeling to look like. So thank you, everybody, for helping with it. As I don't know if you all know, but our current square footage is 847 square feet. Our staff has increased from 2 permanent employees when we moved down here in 1997 to currently we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 permanent staff members, several extra help employees. So 847 square feet is very, very small, considering the increase in our continuing needs for security, accessibility, and privacy. So moving into this building, it's going to give us 2,000 roughly square feet. So it's going to allow us to be able to continue having our elections computer room, having a ballot processing room that's only for ballot processing, where we don't have workers working in there, and extra help or permanent employees working in there on daily activity. We have a foyer where we would have public service windows, waiting area, and room for voting booths where, previously before they redid the hallway here on the second floor, we had to have the booths. We had limited booths up here for voting, where in November this last year, because of COVID, we had to use the Board of Supervisors chambers to be able to accommodate more voters. So, that would help out too. And then, being able to have an office for myself and my deputies to be able to have private conversations with our staff and internal key staff and vendors, where right now it's like we have to kick everybody out of the back room to be able to have that, and then plenty of room for our extra help workers to be able to work. And where we're setting up our precinct kits, normally we have to wait until the 4 chambers are available to us to be able to assemble a lot of our supplies that have to be deployed to the polling places. So, just having the room to be able to conduct an election, without having that additional stress of, okay, now we have to work nights to be able to get all the work done, or come on weekends to be able to do this. So, really that's all I have, but I'm sure the auditor's office would be, able to move over this way and have additional room for themselves too. Like I said, it's been a long time coming for us, and I really would appreciate that this be approved so that we can move forward and get it over there before the June 2022 election.
Awesome, thank you. And I'm sure the auditor controller is already up there with a tape measure, figuring out how things are going to look in the near future. So I think it's exciting for everybody. Any comments or questions from the board? Supervisor Crandall?
Yes, this is exciting. I know that last year's election, I came up to talk with the Register of Voters, Maria Valadez, and asked, if there's anything we can do to help. She says, even if there was, where am I going to have the help, placed? There's not enough room. We have a mandate by the state to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm just glad to see that within this next year, we were able to at least provide a solution for that. So again, thank you.
All right, any other comments? Supervisor Scott?
I fully support this lease agreement, and I'm grateful that we were able to find a building so close to the courthouse here. I did have a constituent call me with concerns of safety of your staff and security, because you no longer will have the security of the front entering the courthouse. Have you put any thought into that?
So we've talked about having, because the building has to be remodeled, we haven't really talked about like putting up like windows like we have here right now, looking into maybe bulletproof windows. I don't know, but it depends on the budget that I have to be able to accommodate that remodel. We talked about, I think Matthew and Carol have mentioned having security during election time, hiring security, during the election period. But cameras, I don't know. We're close enough into town and stuff, and just having a panic button, installed in our building. But anything different than what we would have here already. It's.
Well, definitely come back to this board, because, we want safety for your staff. So whatever we can do to make sure that happens, I believe that you would have support from us to do that.
Thank you. I don't know when they're going to come back with the presentation on what the cost it would be to, for the current remodel request that I have, but maybe they could include that into the budget.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Scott. Supervisor Simon?
Yeah, I'm glad that we're speaking about this today. I know it's been in the works for a while. As you said, Matthew started talking about it in it might have been in the end of 2018, 2019, but we're glad to be here today. I know that, absolutely 874 square feet or whatever it is, that's just way too small. We've all been up in that office. The great work that is done by a Register of Voters every year, this space will definitely help out. So I'm in complete support, and we will try and do everything we can to develop in the most safest manner. And it is right across the street. It's directly out the window out here to your right, just right across, and it looks like a great building facility for our Register of Voters. So in complete support, and I want to thank Carol, all of the Space Committee, and obviously Maria in working in the path to get this completed. So yeah, good day today.
Thank you very much. I have a quick question. I know that you have storage also here in the courthouse. Will there be enough room for you to be able to move over all your storage stuff, or will you continue using it just to see if that's going to free up some other room for other departments to be able to utilize? I know that we're all hard up on room.
So currently, I'm going to say I'm going to keep my storage units for now until we can move over there, and then see how we can accommodate some of that. There's certain storages I have to have. I still have to have the voting unit equipment. That's a big storage unit I can't give up. I have a couple underneath here under the stairwell, or under the third floor. But within time, once I can't tell you right now. Yes, I'd be able to give something up until we move in there and see what how we can make that happen. We just don't have the room in here, so we kind of stack everything on top of everything. So once we, can lay out everything, then we would be able to see about that.
Okay. And then, of course, any and all of the upgrades that will happen to that due to the cost will come before us. So it'll be looking forward to what those upgrades look like. I think that the comfort of your staff will absolutely increase. I know you've done a great job already with the changes that you were able to make in the tight quarters that you have currently, but this is going to be a fantastic change. So looking forward to approving this. Let's go ahead and open it up to the public. Anyone from the public have any comments or question about this item? And seeing none, let's bring it back to the board for action.
There were some, were there some revisions that Matthew said? I don't know if
Yeah,
caught
so
all
I
those.
know that Matthew did mention the revisions, the page numbers, some of the upgrades, I think, there was three things. Off the top of my head, I'm...
A date.
Your board can simply approve the agreement with the modifications as presented by staff this date.
Thank you. So I will go ahead and move to approve the lease agreement between the County of Lake and John Allen Dye Trust of 1993 for the premises located at 325 North Forbes Street with the revisions presented by staff for the use of office for the Register of Voters and elections for a 10-year term of August 1st, 2021 to July 31st, 2031. Would that cover it? Excellent.
And
Second.
authorize the chair to sign is the last part of the action.
That's a given, but
And authorize the chair to sign.
that will happen unless you authorize anyone else, but it's fine to add it.
All right, we have a motion from Supervisor Simon and a second by Supervisor Crandall. Johanna, roll call, please.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Aye.
Supervisor Scott. Aye. Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you very much. We're going to go celebrate now.
All right, let's go ahead and keep moving down the agenda. We are now on 7.3, I believe. Consideration to waive the formal bidding process pursuant to Lake County Code, Section 38.2, as it is not in the public interest due to the unique nature of goods or services. And B, consideration of agreement between the County of Lake and IDEA Consulting for development and implementation of an organized delivery system for substance use disorder services for fiscal year 2021-2022 for a contract maximum of $50,000 and authorize the board chair to sign the agreement. Just to let the board know, 7.3 through 7.8 were originally on the consent agenda when submitted to the board for placing on the agenda. I moved these before the agenda was posted, as I knew I was going to be pulling these items. And so I just wanted to at least make that statement and make the statement that my only argument for any of these is the same argument I've been making in the last few meetings, which is the waiving portion of the bidding process, which I disagree with. And so I will let Director Metcalf introduce these items, but I am just looking to make one single argument and the rest is it. And that's it. I'm done with my argument. Director Metcalf.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Todd Metcalf. I'm the Director of Behavioral Services. I would love to lump all of these agenda items together, but I'm afraid, I know it's late in the day, but I would like to sort of run through each one of these agenda items just.
And we have to anyways.
Right, and so we'll be as brief and quick as possible. And thankfully, since it's so late in the day, I actually had a lot of time to sort of script it out. So I promise it'll be quick. But I have invited a couple of my staff members to help me sort of tag team this. And so for agenda item 7.3, I'm going to turn this over to our Substance Abuse Programs Manager, April Gambra, who will probably do a much better job explaining what this is than I am. So April, if you want to just jump in, I'll turn it over to you. And then I'll pick up the next one.
Thank you, Todd. Hello, Mr. Chair and members of the board. My name is April Gambra. As Todd had mentioned, I'm the Substance Abuse Program Manager for Lake County Behavioral Health Drug and Alcohol Programs. I want to thank the board for this opportunity to be able to answer any questions that you may have in regards to item 7.3. Agenda item 7.3 is a contract with IDEA Consulting to provide support in developing an implementation plan, policies, letter of intent, and training to prepare our department with entering the organized delivery system. The organized delivery system is an expansion of drug and alcohol resources that will become available to remaining California counties, I believe July 2022. Department of Healthcare Services has requested the counties begin to submit the required documents by the end of 2021, so December 2021. IDEA Consulting has the experience in assisting multiple counties with preparing for the expansion of drug Medi-Cal services, including stakeholder engagement process necessary to submit the letter of intent in approximately 4 months. They have experience in preparing information to present to the board on the organized delivery system itself. So we're really going to call upon their expertise in collecting information, disseminating this information, and preparing a presentation for the board as well as going out to our stakeholders. What makes IDEA unique is that through our initial interviewing of other counties who are currently in the organized delivery system, IDEA Consulting was mentioned several times in their ability to help us navigate through their already accumulation of policies, procedures, trainings, both models of the organized delivery system and the regional and direct contract with Department of Healthcare Services. There were no other contractors or consulting agencies that were mentioned through our interviewing of other counties. And there were no other consulting agencies that were available to be able to meet the timeline. So it is for those reasons that I'm requesting that the formal bidding process be waived per Lake County Code Section 38.2 and approval of this contract be granted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions from the board? And I appreciate the explanation for the waiving of the bidding. Just to explain to the public as well as staff, we are reaching close to, if we approve all of these here today, reaching close to $4 million worth of contracts for behavioral health that have not gone through any formal bidding process. And while it seems to have been stated that there are other possibilities out there but could not meet the timelines that we needed, I don't believe that that is an exception for waiving the formal bidding process based on my knowledge of the purchasing ordinance. And without having any reports to show the efficiencies and outcomes of these contracts, I just struggle to continue with the waiving of the bidding process. I am working with the administration, and we will be coming back with a revised purchasing ordinance. I believe that is supposed to come either next week or in the following week after that. But I know that it's been discussed and wanted to let you know that we are still working on that, and we plan to bring that back to the board for discussion. But that is my only reason as far as the contract. I want to approve the contract, just not the waiving of the bidding. If there's no further comments from the board, let's open it up for the public, both in the Zoom room and in the chamber. Well, sorry, nobody in the chamber left. And so let's bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move to waive the formal bidding process pursuant to Lake County Code Section 38.2 as it is not in the public interest due to the unique nature of goods and services.
Second.
We have a motion from Supervisor Scott, a second by Supervisor Pyska. Johanna, roll call.
Supervisor Simon?
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall?
Aye.
Supervisor Scott?
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska?
Yes.
And Supervisor Sabatier?
Nay.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the agreement between County of Lake and IDEA Consulting for development and implementation of an organized delivery system for substance use disorder services for fiscal year 2021-2022 for a contract maximum amount of $50,000 and authorize the board chair to sign the agreement.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Scott, second by Supervisor Pyska. Johanna, roll call, please.
Okay, Supervisor Simon?
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall?
Aye.
Supervisor Scott?
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska?
Yes.
And Supervisor Sabatier?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 7.4, consideration to waive the formal bidding process pursuant to Lake County Code, Section 38.2, as it is not in the public interest due to the unique nature of goods or services, and B, consideration of agreement between the County of Lake and North Valley Behavioral Health, LLC, for fiscal year 2021-22 for a contract maximum of $400,000 and authorize the board chair to sign the agreement. Director Metcalf.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Todd Metcalf, Behavioral Services. So this is a contract with North Valley Behavioral Health to provide inpatient psychiatric emergency services to our clients. I want to point out that this is the only facility available in Northern California that will accept mental health clients who are incompetent to stand trial. So we currently have one client placed in this facility. And as I've said before, to move a client out of this type of situation would be extremely detrimental to the treatment and services that the client is receiving. So that said, I'm requesting that the formal bidding process be waived per Lake County Code 38.2, and also asking for approval of this contract simply because there are no other facilities in the area that can provide this service. And as you've heard me also say before, these contracts are dealing with people, not widgets. And so that's what makes these a little special, and that's why I keep going back to that county code 38.2. And I'll stop there, but I am requesting approval based upon what I just said.
Thank you very much, Director Metcalf. Any questions or comments from the board? All right, let's open it up from the public. Any comments or questions from the public? Okay, let's bring it back for action.
Mr. Chair, I move to waive the formal bidding process pursuant to Lake County Code Section 38.2, as it is not in the public interest due to the unique nature of goods and services.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Scott, second by Supervisor Pyska. Johanna, roll call, please.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Aye.
Supervisor Scott,
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Nay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the agreement between the County of Lake and North Valley Behavioral Health, LLC, for fiscal year 2021-2022 for contract maximum of $400,000 and authorize the board chair to sign the agreement.
Second.
We have a motion from Supervisor Scott, second Supervisor Pyska. Johanna, roll call, please.
Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Aye.
Supervisor Scott,
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we're going to go to item 7.5. I believe that Director Metcalf wanted to pull this item. Just want to check in and make sure that that is the correct item.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would like to pull it, but I have our Administrative Deputy Director, Elise Jones, here to just explain a little bit as to the reason why we are pulling this item, if the board will give us that time to explain.
Please.
Good evening, your board chair. As stated, Elise Jones, Deputy Director, Behavioral Health Services. This item actually originally was placed on the calendar back in 2020, and it has to do with the installation of a commercial fire alarm system, which is required for Medi-Cal certification for any behavioral health or healthcare facility. There was admittedly some confusion on our end regarding the process of procurement for this that has kind of had a ripple effect, and hence it's being removed today. Chair Spadier, you had noted some inconsistencies with the memo, with the contract, with the invoices that we are needing to reconcile. So I apologize for that confusion, and that is why we're pulling the item.
Okay, and the item will reappear in any date certain or just in a future agenda when it comes up?
Actually, it's not clear that it needs to reappear because the amount is less than $25,000, it appears.
Okay, perfect. Any comments or questions about pulling the item from the board? Let's open it up to the public. Again, we're not discussing the contract or agreement itself, just the pulling of the item. Any comments from the public? And seeing none, I think that does it for item 7.5. Let's move on to item 7.6. Consideration to waive the formal bidding process pursuant to Lake County Code Section 38.2 as it is not in the public interest due to the unique nature of goods or services. And B, consideration of agreement between the County of Lake and Mountain Valley Family and Child Services for special mental health services for fiscal year 21-22 in the amount of $44,700 and to authorize the board chair to sign the agreement. Director Metcalf.
Yes, it's my turn again. So this is a contract with Mountain Valley Family and Child Services to provide specialty mental health services to our clients. Mountain Valley has facilities located in Nevada City and Sacramento. We currently have one client placed at one of these facilities. And again, I know I sound like a broken record, but you know, to move a client from a facility like this would be extremely detrimental to their recovery plan. So I'm again requesting that the formal bidding process be waived per Lake County Code Section 38.2. And again, I'm also asking approval for this contract because there are simply no facilities locally that provide these types of services. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Trying to keep it short.
Oh, I think we're all trying our best, and my heart hurt when I heard good evening. It obviously means it's late. Any comments or questions from the board?
No.
All right, opening up to the public. Any comments or questions from the public? And bringing it back for action. I think Supervisor Scott is done.
Mr. Chair, I waive the formal bidding process pursuant to Lake County Code Section 38.2 as it is not in the public interest due to the unique natures and the goods of services.
Second.
Motion from Supervisor Pyska, second by Supervisor Simon. Roll call, please, Johanna.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott,
I was just sharing. Aye.
Supervisor,
Yes.
I didn't hear Supervisor Pyska.
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. And Supervisor Sabat.
Nay.
Thank you.
Part B.
Yes. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agreement between the County of Lake and the Mountain Valley Family and Child Services for specialty mental health services for fiscal year 2021-22 in the amount of $44,700 and to authorize the board chair to sign the agreement.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Pyska, second by Supervisor Simon. Johanna, roll call, please.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Aye.
Supervisor Scott, Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
And for efficiency purposes, if it's possible to get a full motion of A and B put together just for efficiency purposes, that I think would still provide the same outcomes. Item 7.7A, consideration to waive the formal bidding process pursuant to Lake County Code, Section 38.2, as it is not in the public interest due to the unique nature of goods or services. And B, consideration of agreement between the County of Lake and Willow Glen Care Center for adult residential support services and specialty mental health services for fiscal year 2021-22 for a contract maximum of $100,000 and authorize the board chair to sign the agreement. Hold on, Director Metcalf. I have a feeling that Ms. Grant, our county counsel, wants to say something.
All I wanted to say is when you actually go to make your motion, you can just simply move to waive the formal bidding process for item 7.7 and approve the agreement as presented.
Okay.
Thank you.
But wait a minute, I had something to say about it.
All right, Director Metcalf.
No, it's the same thing. We've got people there. We actually have 4 people placed at various Willow Glen facilities. They have facilities both in Willits and in Yuba City, which which is nice because it's close by and it affords our staff to be able to go, check in on our clients. And again, for us to not renew this contract and have to move our clients would be detrimental to their recovery plan. And it's the same old story. But it again, I mean, these contracts are complicated because we're talking about people, and I respect the going out to bid thing. I mean, I'm totally into that, and I'm not trying to be difficult, but it's just I just feel that these are specialty services contracts, and I believe that we can waive the bidding process. So as I said before, perhaps going into next fiscal year, we'll throw it out there and see what we can get. But these are people, and it's a little different than buying a new roof or. And we've been through that before too. So anyway, I'm requesting the board to approve this contract. Again, just because there are no facilities in our county that provide these services. And again, I believe that this is a specialty services contract. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, let's open it up to the public. And let's bring it back for action.
Mr. Chair, I move that we waive the formal bidding process for 7.7 and approve the attached agreement. As presented.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Pyska, second by Supervisor Simon. Johanna, roll call.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Aye.
Supervisor Scott, Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Nay.
Thank you.
And 7.8A, consideration to waive the formal bidding process pursuant to Lake County Code, Section 38.2, as it is not in the public interest due to the unique nature of goods or services. And B, consideration of agreement between the County of Lake and Hilltop Recovery Services for substance use disorder residential services for fiscal year 2021-22 for a contract maximum of $199,100, and authorize the board chair to sign the agreement. And Director Metcalf, sorry.
It's not me this time. I'm going to turn this back over to April Gambra, our Substance Abuse Programs Manager, who is our resident substance use disorder services expert. And again, she will be able to explain this a lot better than I would. So April, you're up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, thank you, board members, for this opportunity to answer any questions that you may have about the agenda item 7.8. So this is a contract with Hilltop Recovery Services for intensive outpatient drug-free and residential services, specifically for men in the residential treatment portion. There are no other drug Medi-Cal certified or licensed providers within the county who offer men's residential services. It is essential for individuals to be able to provide for individuals to be able to access these resources to promote recovery from drug and alcohol disorders. We currently have individuals who are placed there. We have 3 clients who are currently receiving services in the residential portion of this contract. Some of which were placed June of 2021 and whose treatment care lasts well into our fiscal year fiscal year 21-22. We have individuals who are currently waiting to enter into treatment who desperately need for this contract to be approved. The Hilltop contract also meets a required mandate set by the Department of Healthcare Services for intensive outpatient treatment. They are the only intensive outpatient program who is currently operating and offering services for Medi-Cal beneficiaries and Lake County residents. So not having this contract in place places us at risk of being out of compliance with requirements for a state contract. Hilltop also provides a unique service to individuals who are full scope Medi-Cal beneficiaries between the ages of 18 and 21. Not having this residential option for this age, specialized age range could prove to have a negative impact on age Medi-Cal beneficiaries attempting to access residential services under the Medi-Cal program. It is for these reasons that I'm requesting that the formal bidding process be waived for Lake County Code, Section 38.2, and approval of this contract be granted. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Any comments or questions from the board? And seeing none, open it up to the public. And seeing none, coming back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move to waive the formal bidding process for item 7.8 and approve the attached agreement.
Second.
As presented.
As presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Supervisor Crandall and a second by Supervisor Pyska. Johanna, roll call, please.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott, Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Nay.
Thank
And
you.
I think we're getting a little delirious up here. Thank you very much, Director Metcalf, and to your team. Sorry for making you wait so long to be able to present.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to item 7.9. Oh,
No, I'm ready for 7.9.
we got a motion before the introduction. Consideration of the following advisory board appointments: Mental Health Advisory Board. And we have 2 applications on there. And are there any questions or comments from the board on the applications? I did see that for Camille Cummins that there was both the diversity and the mental health. I just wanted to make sure we're only, there's only positions available for mental health, correct? And I'm looking at the diversity board supervisors.
Yeah, I think that this is only.
This is just for mental health.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because on the application it had both.
I know she attends, and I think she's a part of that one as well. That's what she was listing possibly.
Perfect. And I know that Camille Cummins is in District 2. Met her many a times in the past. A wonderful person to add to the Mental Health Advisory Board. So if somebody can go ahead and make that motion for me, that would be great.
She put District 1 on her application.
I thought she was in District 2.
No, I'm
She's
just,
in Highlands Harbor. Oh, she has District 1. I forget that.
yeah.
That's
I
south.
think you do forget that sometimes.
I do. I do.
Don't only happen to me, I don't think, either.
And I'll have to add that both these applicants have already been to board meetings. So, and they have been interviewed, and these are our recommendations.
Okay. Have we gone to the public?
Sorry. Open it up for the public comment.
I don't know if I count as public, but I'm also familiar with these 2 applicants and just want to kind of throw in that our mental health board now has become a very robust, dynamic group. It's taken me years to pull it all together, but these 2 applicants will be a great addition to what they are already doing for our department. So I'm in full support of these 2 applicants.
I believe you're a little bit more official than public, but thank you for your comment. Again, open it up for the public. I saw a hand, it disappeared, just double checking. Yeah, Julie Colfax.
Hello, I actually was just responding to the comments about Camille being on another. This is Julie Colfax. I'm the chair of your Mental Health Advisory Board. I was just responding that yes, we are aware that Camille is on another board as well, and we are just so happy to have her. We will make sure we work with her to ensure that there are no conflicts of interest involved in that work. And we are very ecstatic to have both of these members. And I just received yesterday our 3rd and last application from somebody else who's been attending our meetings recently. So I thank you very much for getting this on the agenda and taking care of these appointments.
Thank you very much. And without any further public comments, let's bring it back to the board for action.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve Camille Cummins and Michelle Young to be appointed to the Mental Health Advisory Board.
Second.
Motion from Supervisor Simons, second by Supervisor Pyska. Roll call, please, Johanna.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott.
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, I do know that you have other consent agenda items, I believe, still to
Yes.
go.
I was just going back to those.
And I did want to ask your board if you would consider, please, to reopen for reconsideration agenda item 6.4, sub C and D.
Oh, okay. And I believe we still have staff here, so let's definitely get to that. Do I need a motion to reopen 6.4?
Yes.
So moved.
C and D, just C and D.
Second?
We have a motion from Supervisor Simon, second Supervisor Pyska. Johanna, roll call, please, to reopen that item.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Aye.
Supervisor Scott. Aye. Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye. And so we have 6.4 reopened. Just going to read it real fast. Public hearing, sitting concurrently as Clear Lake Keys, CSA number 1, number 2, number 6, number 13, 2021. Board of Supervisors, Kelseyville County Waterworks, District 3, and Lake County Sanitation District Board of Directors. Consideration of A, resolution confirming collections of annual lighting fees. Actually, all we're doing is C and D, which is resolution confirming collections of delinquent water and sewer fees. Was it C and D or just C?
C and D. There's sewer in D as
Okay.
well, even though
And D,
water's
resolution of delinquent sewer fees for Lake County Sanitation District. Both of those needed a 4/5 vote in order to be approved. With the votes that were done earlier, those two, C and D, did not go through. Wanted to make sure that the board was aware of the results of that vote. And if no further changes, then we can do a revote on these, or we can just make sure that the staff and the public is aware that those did not go through.
Yes, sir. I think that you may want a revote as to one of them, the Kelseyville Waterworks District. If it turns out that your board does not want to take up the other matter, then I'd recommend that you bring that back within a week or two for further consideration with further information from staff because of the timing of the property tax.
With the deadline
bills.
of August
Yes,
6th.
Yes, so that you don't miss that because that would increase it by potentially up to 18 months.
And so we're looking, Kelseyville Water District was C, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So let's go ahead and do we need to rescind the vote, or did we do that by reopening? Since we did.
I think you can do a motion to rescind and then offer it again. Offer the resolution a second time. So first a motion to rescind the prior adoption of the resolution, and a new motion to offer the resolution a second time.
Okay.
I just want to get it right. I'm ready to offer the motion, but it's for the resolution confirming collections of water and sewer fees, or D, resolution delinquent sewer fees for Lake County Sanitation
And I
District.
think we're going to do each C and D separately.
Yes.
So
this
we're
would
going to
be for-
rescind
for
C.
So we're gonna-
Kelseyville.
right.
Yes.
Going to make a move to rescind resolution
Second?
for the Kelseyville Water District.
We have a resolution, or the motion to rescind has been offered by Supervisor Simon and seconded by Supervisor Pyska. Johanna, roll call.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott. Aye. Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
And if your board chooses, you may offer that same resolution again.
Mr. Chair, I would like to offer the resolution.
Resolution's been offered by Supervisor Simon. Johanna, roll call, please.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott. Aye. Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Nay.
Thank you.
And then we're looking to rescind D, the resolution for delinquent sewer fees in Lake County Sanitation District.
And I'm sorry, if you would then also just continue the public hearing as to D until next week or the week after so that it can be taken up again with any further information. Your board may determine you want to approve it, you may determine not to.
And
Could we do that today if it changed? Or,
Well, if you had the votes to change it, you could do the same thing you just did, but I don't believe you do.
okay,
Yeah, I won't change my vote on that one.
okay.
So as to D, if your board would just consider rescinding your action on that resolution and put that matter over until either next week or the week after, you might want to ask Mr. Harder in terms of time frame what he's thinking, because he'd be providing your board with further information.
Director Harder, when do you think you might be able to provide further information on dealing with the sanitation district
I
delinquencies?
can accommodate either, and the sooner would be preferred, so next week would be preferable.
Okay. So then a motion to rescind and then a motion to continue public hearing at a certain date?
Which would be the 20th at a time certain.
Okay, and Johanna, is 9:30 a.m. Next week good, or does that not work? What's a good time that we can place that on the agenda?
I think 9:30 would work, if Carol's still here to confirm.
Yes, I'm still here. It is a full agenda next week. So if the 27th is possible, I'm looking at Director Harder. Is that possible?
It's certainly possible. It just pushes the deadline closer out, and I'm not certain at this point in time what the impact on the auditor or the tax collector's departments is. So my preference would be to expedite it, giving them more time because they have certain cutoffs before that August 6th date as well and stuff that they have to do.
Okay, 9:30 it is.
Okay. So looking for a motion to rescind that item and then a motion to continue the public hearing at 9:30 a.m. on July 20th.
So moved.
Second.
And we could do both in one. Perfect. Supervisor Scott with the motion, Supervisor Pyska with the second. Johanna, roll call, please.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Yes,
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott. Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
don't open that door, Sam.
Thank you.
Sam, you don't open that door, man.
And, sorry, got distracted there. Now we're going to go back to our 5.2 item, adopt resolution amending resolution number 2021-65, establishing salaries and benefits for management employees for the period November 1st, 2020 to October 31st, 2021. CAO Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this resolution simply reinstates the salary for the Deputy Air Pollution Control Officer. This is a class that has been in existence for a number of years, but hasn't been used in quite a while, like approximately a decade, I believe. And so because it had been inactive when the management salary resolution was updated in October 2020, that salary was left off. And very recently, the the Air Pollution Control Officer has expressed his interest in filling the position. He's in the process of doing that. So we had to establish a salary for it. And the reason we pulled this item from consent is because there was a page of the salary grade table that was missing from the resolution. It's attached now. If you refresh your browser, you can see it. If you go to the grade table, which is the last 3 pages of the resolution, on the second page of the table, you'll see where I've put a little asterisk where you can see the recommended salary for the Deputy Air Pollution Control Officer. This salary grade was set using our salary spread guidelines and is consistent with several other deputy director classes. So this will enable Director Gearhart to fill the position.
Thank you very much for your presentation and the explanation for why we pulled this item. Any questions or comments from Board of Supervisors? Okay, pretty self-explanatory. Thank you very much for the clarification. Let's open it up for the public. Any comments from the public? And let's bring it back for action on item 5.2.
I'll offer the resolution.
Yes.
Resolution has been offered by Supervisor Scott and Johanna. Roll call, please.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Aye.
Supervisor Scott, Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor.
Aye.
you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
apparently Sam's been informed that there's a union meeting here in the chambers.
Okay. Well, we are going to finish our meeting, as I think that is our priority right now. And we're almost done. 5.8, I apologize in advance because it's just being nitpicky, but I did not expect us to go all the way till 6. A, approve amendment to policy regarding response to official citizen complaints, including retitling to policy regarding response to official constituent complaints. And B, authorize the CAO to seek the signatures of department heads to ensure compliance with the amended policy. The reason I pulled this is because I did get an email from a constituent that sometimes the complaints can come from people who are not our constituents. They may be visitors, they may be people from out of town that have to deal with the county. And so if we can utilize the same language that we find within the California constitutions that just says persons, the official person's complaints, something along those lines, because constituents does not necessarily always delineate the people that would be filing the complaint. So that is the reason I pulled it. The rest of it, I have worked with the CAO to make adjustments, and so everything else is fine. Any comments?
So, Mr. Chair, here
Yes.
are my suggestions then. That the title, well, actually, I guess it's not the title, it's the first line after the title. That first line simply read, policy regarding response to official complaints. And then everywhere else in the proposed draft with the track changes, everywhere else it says constituent be replaced with the word person or persons.
I absolutely agree with those changes, and looking for, County Council?
If you're going to eliminate citizen from the title of the policy, it appears elsewhere, not just constituent, but citizen.
I believe that was taken care of within the document itself.
Okay.
If you look at the track change, all versions, the citizen, reference to citizen was replaced with constituent.
My apologies, it doesn't show on my attachment.
Yeah, I think it starts with the original, then the track changes, and then the final draft at the end. And I believe citizen was removed and changed over to be the reason why more inclusive to all people who are here, who may visit or reside here in Lake County. Looking for any comments from the board? Getting good reactions from the right. And opening it up for the public. And we have a comment from phone 6205.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I know that everybody is enormously tired. You've said it for the last hour and a half, and I'm very concerned about rushing through this particular item because it's about the citizens' ability to, or the people of Lake County, to complain. I read the original policy and I read the proposed update, and it is not clear to me that this isn't limiting or creating more bureaucracy for a person in Lake County to complain. So I know this might be very unusual, but it's so unusual that it's after 6:05, and you've all been so gracious about spending the day doing the people's business. Please don't rush this item. Make sure that when you decide about the people's ability to complain with the county, that it's done with great thoughtfulness. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Any further comments? And I see none. And I know that the changes are not drastic changes. There's been quite a few complaints that we've received over the course of the year since I've been the chair, and I'm sure that the previous chair also had to deal with these as well. I think the process of the complaints have a good process. I think that we get to an explanation and get to a resolution for those that file the complaints. I personally do not see a problem with the policy or the process. There needed to be some tweaks made to it, and I think that I'm confident with the changes that we have before us. So if there's no further public comment, let's bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chair, I just want to say that you're correct, and this policy just reflects the practice that has been ongoing, and we've made improvements in the complaint process in the past year by automating the form, so people can submit it online and then we automatically receive it. And this process just outlines how we track and make sure responses are given.
Thank you. And then back to the board for action with or without amendments, up to whoever makes the motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the amendment. Do I have to read the whole thing?
Approve 5.8 as presented with amendments?
As presented with amendment, and authorize the CAO to seek the signatures of the department heads to ensure compliance with the amended policy.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Pyska, second by Supervisor Crandall. Roll call, please, Johanna.
Okay, Supervisor Simon,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Yes.
Supervisor Scott. Aye. Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
Thank you.
And I see we still have Director Metcalf with us. I know we pulled item 5.9, which was approve agreement between County of Lake and Behavioral Health Services as lead agency of the Lake County Continuum of Care and North Coast Opportunities, NCO, for fiscal year 2021-25 in an amount not to exceed $207,585, and authorize the chair to sign. I believe this one is being pulled not for discussion, but being pulled for a future agenda. Is that correct?
Absolutely. There were just a couple of clerical errors in the text of this item, and so yes, we're going to fix that, and we will get it on a future board agenda if the board so allows.
Okay. Any comments on that from the board? No. Seeing none, open it up for the public. Any comments on this item? I see we do have a hand up from phone 6205. Was that from a previous hand up, or is this for the item 5.9?
Mr. Chair, the hand was up on the previous item.
Okay.
Good.
Hi, I did have a question about this item.
Go for it.
Thank you. Can you give a little bit of detail of what this amount of money is for?
And so right now, because we're pulling the item, we're not going to discuss the actual agreement since it will come back with some changes. This would only be a discussion on whether to pull the item or not. Okay. Let's bring it back to the board, and everyone agrees. Go ahead and just when it comes back to us, it will come back. No specific date.
Well, as soon as I can get it on an agenda.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. And I believe the last one that was pulled was item 5.12, and checking in with CAO Hutchinson. Was this one pulled for a future agenda as well? This was the approve amendment 5 to the agreement between the County of Lake and Evan Bloom, MD, MPH, to assist the Lake County.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
For a future meeting.
Perfect. Okay, and so we will see that in a future agenda, and that was all of the consent agendas. And we will return back to closed session to finish item 8.2, Public Employee Evaluation Title, Interim Community Development Director. 8.3, Conference with Legal Counsel, Existing Litigation. 8.4, Conference with Legal Counsel, Existing Litigation. And just for the public's awareness, we did go over 8.1 in our previous closed session, and no action was taken. And with that,
and please look for a separate Zoom invite momentarily.
Thank you very much. And with that, our public session is over. Thank you for hanging out with us till the evening. We will see you next time.